Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I'm going to show you how to fix either a cracked or chipped windshield. So let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to be using here for this video is this windshield repair kit by 3M. There's other brands out there that do the same thing, but pretty much this is made for fixing any kind of small bullseye, spider web, or star damage less than an inch in diameter to your windshield. So that's what we're going to be using, and I'm going to show you the windshield now, what we're dealing with. So that's what we're dealing with right there. You can see here on my windshield, I believe a rock or something kicked up on the highway, hit that. Originally it was just a little chip, but now it's starting to spread a little bit. Right now it's about 1/4 of an inch. But with this product that we're using here, you can use anything. I believe you might even be able to go up to an inch. I know they say less than an inch, but you could go up to about an inch. Anything bigger than that, unfortunately, you're going to have to get it professionally done or may have to replace your windshield. But in this case here, we're going to go ahead and use this product so we can fix that, because if you do have a crack in your windshield, depending on your state inspection, you could fail that. And also, you don't want that staying on there, because as the temperature changes throughout the year, that thing's going to start to spread, and eventually you could have a really big crack and needing to replace the whole windshield. So it is good to address it when it's still small like this before it spreads. Well, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take some Windex and just clean off this windshield real good. Just get any pollen and junk off of here. Clean that off. There we go. It's a lot better. And then now we can see everything clearly. And what we're going to do next is we're going to take either a push pin, or I have a very small pointed screwdriver, and lightly scrape the inside of that chip or that crack to remove any like little glass fragments out of there. And then following that, we'll take an alcohol wipe, which if you're purchasing the kit that I did, it came with that. If not, you can just get an alcohol wipe and just kind of clean that area real good with that to clean off any residue or debris, and then we're ready to start the process. So let's go ahead and clean out that chip and then get ready. Now that this area has been cleaned properly, we're ready to attach the bridge. You have a center point here on the bridge, and basically the damage to the windshield, whether it be the crack, the chip, whatever the case may be, should be centered in there. Then you have the upper resin chamber that gets screwed in from the top side. So you've got your suction cups here that goes in through the top, and it has a little rubber ring here. That ring is going to actually fall flush on the windshield to get a tight bond, and then we're ready to insert the resin through here to fill the damage. So I'm going to get a close-up as I actually assemble this on here, and then we'll be back to start putting the resin into it. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you want it to be above 70 degrees if you're doing this outside, because the resin needs to harden properly. So make sure that if it's colder than that, you do it indoors, but you want it to be no less than 70 degrees. After you have everything connected, want to give it a couple more turns so you get a nice, tight, leak-free seal. You don't want the resin to be able to leak out. Give it a couple more turns. There we go. Nice and tight. You don't want to over-tighten it, because depending how deep the damage is on your windshield, you don't want to cause more stress on that and cause it to spider web out, and then you got a real issue. So we're good to go. So let's start putting the resin in so we can seal this thing up. After you have the resin filled in, now you're going to take the resin injector. You're going to go ahead and put that in. We're going to go ahead and screw it. Keep screwing it until it starts to tighten up. Once it gets completely tightened, you're going to go ahead and give it one more turn to really build up the pressure. There we go. Now we're going to leave it for about a minute, and then we'll be back to unscrew it at that point. It's been about a minute now. I'm going to go ahead and just loosen it. We're not going to remove it all the way, but I'm just going to lighten up on the injector. Pull that out a little bit. And that will just enable to pull some air out of the damaged area. Pull it up a little bit. And now we're going to let it sit about another 2 minutes, and then we'll be back. Now that we're done waiting the 2 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and turn this all the way. We're going to let it, there we go. Now we're going to let it sit for about 30 minutes to pretty much fill all the damaged area, and then we'll be back to remove everything, clean everything up, and then we'll be able to see how it looks. So it's been about 30 to 40 minutes, had it on here. You want to have a paper towel or a rag, wipe off any excess resin. In this case, I don't have any that ran out, but if that's the case, you want to get that off of there. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to check on the inside of the car and also on the outside, make sure everything was covered. If it looks like it wasn't, then you can do another application again and just kind of repeat the steps that we covered and make sure that you fill it. If it is good, then we'll move on to the next step. But right now, I'm going to go inside and check it. And it actually looks good. Looks good out here as well. Everything looked good. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and remove all of this here, the bridge and the injector. And then what I'm going to do is just take the dropper and just drop a little drop of resin on top of the area as just kind of one little touch up there. And then that will kind of end that. And we got a little bit of resin here running. So I got to wipe that off, and then we'll do the dropper. You want to put enough resin underneath this clear piece so that way it's completely filled and there's no air pockets underneath. If there are any air pockets, you want to work them out, but you want this thing to be nice and flush over that area. And then we're going to leave this patch there. And at that point, if you've had your vehicle in the shade or in the garage, you want to move it out where it's in direct sunlight. That'll help speed up the process of the resin drying. Now we've allowed a little over 20 minutes for this to properly dry. We've moved it out into the sunlight to let it cure. Now keep in mind, you can also use a UV light to speed up the process. If your windows are tinted, sometimes that can also take longer. If it's a cloudy day, it can take longer. You really want direct sunlight on here. So at this point, we're ready to peel this back. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this plastic. I'll get a close-up as we do that. We'll see how that looks. If it's fully dry, then we'll take the blade and just scrape it nice and flush. get it nice and cleaned up, and then we'll take a look and see how it turned out. Peeling that back, it's coming off nicely. Sometimes you may need to use the blade to kind of start to peel it off, depending how it went on there. And we'll get a close-up of that, and then we'll go ahead and clean it up real good. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the razor blade. I had mine pretty flush, so if I come along the surface and scrape it, it's really not doing anything. But sometimes if you've got a little bit above the surface of the windshield, you want to use the blade to just kind of clean that up, scrape it real good so you get it nice and flush. So we'll do that. After you're done with that, then you can get some glass cleaner, wipe it down real good. We'll inspect it and see how it turned out, and hopefully everything looks good, and we'll wrap this up. It's looking good. There it is, drying real good. And then we'll go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, well that pretty much wraps this up. For the most part, it did fill the crack. So if you do have a crack around 1 inch or smaller, if it's bigger than that, then that's a different story. But as far as this, like these do-it-yourself kits, that's what you're looking at. It'll at least fill it. It's not 100% perfect. If you look close, you can still kind of see a little bit of a flaw there, but it's still a lot better than the chip, the crack, or whatever you're dealing with. So I hope this video was informative for you. I hope it helped you out. Please send me any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you if you have any questions. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.